let's get to the nitty gritty, bro. I think the belt was taken to the ass, at least.
For sure. I mean, we talked about it, especially them coming off of the Tennessee loss and how that game shaped out, what it looked like, optics. I think it was going to be unfair to just say, hey, we need to put up 80 points on them. But I think the shutout with 50 plus, up there in points, I think bodes very well. And it's what we wanted to see.
Quarterback sneak right side, touchdown, Penn State.
And this segment's brought to you by Family Clothesline. They kept us looking sharp all weekend. I'm currently wearing one of the Lulu Polos. It's a Family Clothesline exclusive. Make sure you guys check out Family Clothesline for all of your Penn State apparel needs.
Back again, folks. Another weekend of college football in the books. Penn State back in action this week against Kent State. We'll get to it, but I liked a lot of what I saw. B, what you think?
Oh, most definitely. I'm always a dub is a dub. We walk out 3-0. Every week that number gets chipped down. How many teams are surviving every weekend? College football is getting wackier and wackier. We see it every weekend. So, like what I saw as well. Got the young guys in there, but I know we'll touch on that in a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. First, as always, want to give a shout out to the sponsors of the network, Family Clothesline. They're fantastic. Make sure you guys are checking out our Lions Den pod, which we're actually shooting in store every Monday. Aeneas Hawkins and Devon Thomas are doing a hell of a job. We got some pretty big guests coming up these next 2 weeks too, current players. Stay tuned. But they're doing a great job. Family Clothesline, they got a ton of great things going on in the NIL space. Their jersey deals, one of the best out there. They negotiated that directly with the players in terms of percentages. So if you're looking for a jersey, supporting your favorite player, want to get your kid something, make sure you go check out Family Clothesline, and they got a whole bunch of other stuff in there that's super, super sweet. I think they're the Lululemon exclusive still. Yeah. So you folks that like them comfy Lulu clothes and you want a Penn State go check out Family Clothesline. Wise Markets, we are going to be dropping a bunch of content surrounding their fan tailgate of the week that they do every Saturday on home game weekends. That's going to be good, so stay tuned on the channels for that. And also, if you're going to be up there tailgating, make sure you're hitting the link that we drop in those pieces of content to propose your tailgate for consideration for the fan tailgate of the week. They give a sweet little gift package in the whole nine. Ziebart, as you guys know, we do our Ziebart Defensive Player of the Week. They're a great sponsor. If you need anything with your car, detail, clean, the whole nine, they got a whole suite of services. Make sure you're checking them out as well. And then last but not least, what we're drinking every episode, Blue White Bourbon, Hidden Still, another great NIL product. They're donating a very significant portion of the proceeds that go to this. You can order online. You can also find it at a few retail stores, but if you can't find it, make sure you check it out at Hidden Still Distillery. They're based out of Hershey, and they will ship it to you, I think, across the country. So make sure you guys get some cases. Free, easy way to do it. And I want to see a lot of those bottles at the tailgates as I'm cruising around. So paid some bills there. B, around college football, man. We're getting to that point of the season where I think things are starting to shake out. You're starting to see contenders from pretenders, the falls from grace, so forth and so on. And subsequently, you're also being able to see some of these teams in the Big Ten Conference. I kind of want to keep it like conference focused, as we are Penn State focused podcast. But you're seeing some teams doing some things that I'm really excited about. One of them being Rutgers, going down, handling business. Undefeated, and we talked about it at the beginning of the year. They got a super light schedule. I don't think they see any of the top dogs really at all, and they're in a position to be a conference championship contender by the end of the year if they run the table.
Yeah, like what I'm seeing out of the Jersey boys for sure up north. Went down there, the Blacksburg, Coach Pry and those guys. It's a tough place, it's a tough trip. And then they gutted it out. VTech made a run late, but it takes some guts to kind of defend, keep those guys off their heels. So definitely like what I'm seeing from them. They got the running back Malungai who's balling, QBs making plays. That's kind of been the kind of crutch as many teams. It's just that golden position, the quarterback at which you played. If you got a guy that can command the ship, you can make some noise in any of these leagues. But they're definitely doing so in the Big Ten. Gonna have to see how they hold up. As you said, it's gonna be interesting to watch. Their schedule is a little bit lighter, but how will they hold up? They still have to finish strong. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what they do. In my heart, a little bit. I know they hated me. They had my name on the fences and all that, picket fence. I still got love for the Jersey guys.
They hated all of us, bro.
Bit. Yeah,
they did. All of us. I was actually talking about that game at the tailgate this week with Todd Rucci.
Okay.
Just like he was mentioning some of the stuff just post scandal and the places that he was at and how he had to kind of separate a little bit because it was just so much noise. I was like, bro, you should have seen the Rutgers bus ride.
Yeah.
Saw some absolutely egregious stuff going on. But yeah, I think that's something to keep an eye on because they really won't have to see a big dog in the conference until the conference championship game, however that shakes out. So that's interesting. And then Michigan responded, man. I know I was hard on them, and again, that might have been just some homer in me and not respecting it. But they ended up gutting one out against USC, pulling it out at the end there. That's going to be something to keep an eye on because I don't know if that's necessarily sustainable, right? Like just running the football and playing really, really good defense. They had a quarterback that could.
I mean, we know all about that from last season.
Yeah, but I mean, still, you know what I mean. When you start matching up and you have to continue to play some higher octane offenses that can score and still hurt you, no matter how good your defense is, which they're going to have to throughout the rest of the year. I don't know. I don't know if it's super sustainable, but they were able to get put a chink in the armor for USC, and they were able to get a good one under their belt and kind of get back on track after that. After kind of a tumultuous start to the season in terms of instability at the quarterback position, and then Texas coming up there and really putting an ass whooping on them.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have Michigan surviving this game. Yeah. And, I'm not surprised that they did at the same time, especially in the fashion that they did. But just speaking on this game, what does it now tell you about USC? Because, you said Rutgers not really having big dogs. They got USC on the schedule. They've got Nebraska. I'm just wondering, do we still hold USC to that same, first 2-3 weeks of what we saw? I think, obviously, they got out-physicaled at the end.
Yeah.
But I think they still kind of held their own to a certain extent at which, the last few seasons at USC definitely couldn't even do that.
Yeah. I thought they threw a pick six, turned the football over a little bit, which, that's always tough to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you have a ball control team on the other side and they're able to impose their will a little bit. I think that's going to be the tell. I still think they're a really dangerous team. Got a lot of respect for Miller Moss. Obviously, Lincoln Riley's going to have that offense ready to go. I think it's just, to your point, can the defense sustain a 12-game regular season schedule in the Big Ten from a physicality standpoint?
Yeah. It's going to start getting cold. Those tackles, that turf's going to start hurting a little bit more. That ground game's going to, feel it for sure.
Yeah, I got to look at the back half of their season and see where they're going.
USC?
Yeah. I gotta dig into that and be ready for the USC week to talk on that. But I think that leads into a great transition. Again, kind of the intro, like talking about how everything's shaken out. Contenders, pretenders. What's the hierarchy of the Big Ten? And I don't want to you don't have to list it. I don't really believe in doing all that. Mm-hmm. I think talk about Rutgers as a little bit of a wild card is a great conversation, but. Yeah. based upon what you've seen, the body of work from the majority of the conference, the ones that we should be talking about, like how would you kind of categorize it? Would you like, your 1, 2, 3, and then maybe like your contenders that are going to give you a chance or could sneak up in there with a couple of key wins with some of these matchups coming down the road?
Man, it's I feel like we talk about it every week. I feel like it's gonna be tough, especially down the stretch. As far as tearing them up, I think there's probably only about I'm not sure if there is more than there's definitely 2 tiers. There's the bottom half tier of which they're not contenders, which we don't have to name those guys. We're not necessarily truly worried about. But then the rest, I feel like it could shake any way as far as anybody could get anyone any given Saturday. Like you said, we're talking about a Rutgers. They go up to I'm gonna look at their schedule real quick.
Yeah.
Just to see. And I'm not saying they are better than.
I think Washington
game.
comes to town this weekend.
What'd you say?
I think Washington comes to town this weekend.
They got UW. Yep. UW. Then Nebraska.
Yep.
And just speaking on those two, I mean, Nebraska, they fall right in line. Like, Nebraska can get anyone, I think, in the conference.
Yeah, I think Nebraska
is possible.
And we'll get to that because I don't want to quite spoil this Illinois segment, but like nothing's changed for me in terms of my opinion of Nebraska after that Illinois game. We can dive into it, but I still think, in terms of the trajectory of that program, like they should have their heads up high and still be able to make a run at this thing. What I want to ask you is because like before this weekend, I kind of had like Ohio State and SC, and then Penn State kind of still in that third realm. And I think we talked about this. Like they just kind of are sitting in that third realm. Like, Michigan may be there. You could chalk up the Texas game to just them not really having a bunch of consistency at the quarterback position. And then, Oregon just out there winning games, veteran quarterback, really good ball coach in Dan Lanning, but like haven't done a ton of things in an impressive fashion.
Yeah.
After the results of this weekend, would you slide Penn State into that 2 spot? Like I still have Ohio State at 1. Like I just think roster-wise, body of work, what they've done, they haven't quite been tested yet, but there's historical relevance to that, and you gotta give credit where credit's due. I think they've earned that. But would you slide Penn State to like 2 now?
I would. And I think going back to Ohio State, I think that's the part where maybe I'm just, it's tough to give them the flowers that they do deserve. They've been rolling well. I just, when I watch, I see more chinks in the armor maybe than most. As far as, everyone talks about the talent they've built, they've paid for, they've bought this season, in which it is tremendous or whatever, but tremendous talent, but I'm not sure if I'm compared to some of the Ohio State teams that we've seen. I guess maybe in my head I'm comparing it to some of those, and I'm like, they've had some bad boys on some squads.
Especially on the defensive side, they don't really quite have that like marching.
Yeah, but obviously still a strong suitor, and you're right. They're at the top where they should be, and you got to put Oregon up there as well. I think we slide right up in there. I mean, I'm feeling very confident. But as I said, it's going to come down to nut cutting time on Saturday with a lot of these matchups. Whether it's Nebraska, even next week for us. We'll get into the Illinois game, but Illinois, looks good. They're always tough. We talked about being a great coach. And I think that's the difference in this league. I think the coaching, along with the talent, is come together for a lot of these squads, like a Rutgers, Illinois, Nebraska. You input a slight increase in talent from the transfer portal here with some of the great minds at the coaching positions, and you have some good teams that can get anyone any weekend. UCLA is, up and down a little bit, but you really can't sleep on any of these squads.
Yeah.
So back to your original question, I think there may be 4 tiers. There's the ones we're not worried about. There's teams that very inconsistent but show flashes. There's 2, which is Penn State looking very good. Maybe haven't had that true test, depending on what you consider West Virginia. And then there's Ohio States and the Oregons who, I guess if you can look at it by rankings.
We're fighting Oregon out there.
Yeah.
Was asked, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I get it. Yeah, and I mean, our guy up there got Michigan State, so that kind of rained on that parade. Michigan State had a good start. They were 3-0 heading into that matchup. We go up and lose to BC. Hey, is what it is. But I still think Michigan State's got a kind of, again, they're starting to get back to that.
Yeah, they're on an uphill
consistency, and that just speaks to again, I think the injection of the West Coast teams into the Big Ten, the need to be competitive now at scale, as opposed to really just worrying about 3 or 4 teams.
Yeah.
And then everyone else can kind of just coast through, beat on up on each other, and then if something works out, especially with the East and West divisions like they were, the West was just kind of, beating the hell out of each other with a pillow fight, and whoever came out with the East and West was going to play in the Big Ten championship game and have a chance. So, it's going to be interesting, man. I'm really excited about the Big Ten conference, how it's going to shape out. I think we're getting more of that like SEC feel. Like the SEC folks are so used to it because that's kind of how it's always been down there.
Right.
They've always had 6, 7 teams that are 8 teams that are really good talent wise and can kind of beat anybody at any point in time. And now you're starting to get it, both down south and up north now. So. Yeah. I think it's starting to shape out well, and everyone's getting what they wanted out of it. But let's keep it pushing, man. Kent State. Let's get to the nitty gritty, bro. I think the belt was taken to the ass, at least.
For sure. I mean, we talked about it. Especially them coming off of the Tennessee loss and how that game shaped out, what it looked like, optics. I think it was going to be unfair to just say, hey, we need to put up 80 points on them. But I think the shutout with 50-plus, up there in points, I think bodes very well. And it's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see guys, not let off the gas, come out. Was it the cleanest game? No, but no game really is ever going to be. But as you said, belt to ass, control of the game from the start. I mean, literally from the start.
Yeah.
Pressure, sack, unfortunate, kid getting hurt. But, you get to the quarterback, that's part of the game. So defense, started off, and then offense, we said it last week, we don't want it to get lost in the sauce of all the, what's going on, but just continuing to create space, get athletes the ball. And Drew is, I believe he's first or second in, was it QBR in the country, and that bodes well, man.
Yeah, that's a couple of my takeaways. I mean, we'll start on the offensive side. I think Drew looked the most comfortable I've seen him. Like he just looks, he's making throws. Like I was at the game, so the throw to Julian Fleming headed towards the north end zone away from the student section was like I hadn't seen him make a throw like that in a long time.
Yeah, just
confidently, like he just made it, and he has like I said, he's had the talent. Been a big believer in that, but I just see like confidence starting to ooze out of him, and it's not like with his rah or his voice. It's just the way he's playing and the plays that he's making and when he's making them. It's been great, and then I think Tyler Warren's just called to next week, putting him back there. I mean, the dude, they should have let him. I mean, hell, they should have let him run one in there for the trifecta. Threw one, caught one, and they should have. He ripped off the big run. Should have just put something in there in the red zone,
right?
And let him tote one in. But he's Mackey Award for sure. But I mean, just the impact that I think he's going to make on the team across the scope of the schedule. I think he's becoming the focal point. Like they're building everything around him, which is really cool. Because I don't think you see that often from a tight end, right? Like he's to me getting into that conversation of like a Brock Bowers, like a guy that you can build an offense around, which was great. The one thing I want to ask you, because it was like the only, I guess, qualm I had, and I think it would be unfair for me to comment on this, but what do you think about the 2 quarterback thing? like that was but like Bo, like Drew's playing so confident right now, and like Bo threw that pick early on the tight end screen, and like I don't want to be super overcritical, right? Like shit happens.
Great
and then
play,
he came in and played well in the back half of the game, but like to me, there's just a little bit of like a disruption of flow at times with it, and it's starting to feel slightly forced.
Yeah.
Like, do you think there's ever a scenario where we just rock with 15 and then now we have to figure out a different way to get 9 involved, right? Because I think he should be. He's still a hell of a football player. But maybe it's more of the emergence of like the Lion position that you talked about with Tommy Stevens, where Bo's now more of the guy that's like Taysom Hill, and he's a threat now in the receiving game, and then you can motion him into the backfield and leverage him that way from a throwing standpoint and do some things creatively. But like splitting Drew out to me seems just a little bit.
You're playing with 10.
It's just a little bit like a waste to me. But. Like I said, that's I think as far as I can do it, as far as I can comment on it. Like, what's your take on it? Do you think we can win a national championship rotating 2 quarterbacks?
Rotating 2, no, but exactly what you said. It's more so. I don't hate the word gimmicks. I don't like gimmicky plays, but it's what you said. A package quarterback. If we're gonna have 2 out there, it's got to be, some type of electric package that comes with it. Because, like to your point, it's less about the 2 being on the field, but the timing of it, as you said, disruption. And as a linebacker, I felt that way, and I know for damn sure a quarterback needs to get in the groove. At some point in my career, I was, subbing nickel and dime packages from regular, and I'm like, and I spazzed out on Coach Pry. I'd love to ask him. I was like, yo, stop taking me the fuck out, especially on 3rd down. Come on, this is money down. I feel good. You get a feel for it. You know what I mean?
I had the same thing, Maryland in 2014. When I would go out there and line up when we were trying to do that Wildcat stuff.
Yeah. I mean, but there's a place for it, and I think that maybe they're still figuring out that timing of it. But when you talk about national championship, this 5-star, talented, hopefully plays in the NFL a long time, high draft quarterback that we have, he needs to be that guy. To take us to the promised land.
He needs to be in a position where he can hurt you in every snap. And that's my only problem with having him at wide receiver is, I don't think he can really – he's not going to hurt you out
no.
there. To your point, you're just playing 10-on-10 football at that point.
Yeah, and like we said, we're not going to be super critical of Bell throwing a pick. Great play by the defense. But, Drew could throw that screen. And was it inline tight end screen?
Yeah, it was just like an inline, it was basically like the old school middle screen, but off of a technical route from like an H-back position with Tyler Warren. He was basically ran an angle route for a middle screen, and the backside defensive end got washed down, and I think he just jumped into it.
He's like, oh shoot.
I watched the replay, and he just kind of got literally pushed into it, and just was like, oh shit, the ball hit him in his face. And that's why I said I'm not going to overanalyze it for Bo, but I think you're putting Bo in a position where it's tough, right? Because that's
first
not
play.
The easiest thing to execute, and Drew's in a rhythm, and again, I just think it's one of those things about putting the ball in your best playmaker's hands, and then if you want to get Bo involved, doing it in a way where it's not disrupting 15.
Yeah.
And I think I think he's earned that now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if he earned it last year, but I think he's earned it now to be the guy that's thought about consistently as we can't disrupt his rhythm because he's a guy now who can go win us football games.
Yeah, and to your point of seeing that confidence in him, just the way he's stepping into it and, striking down the field, that plays a part. You go 2 plays and he got some rhythm, some throws, and then you throw a curveball switch up. If the play is successful, it's still great, but later down the line, does that affect, your top guy who we want to be a threat every single play? There's a time and place for it, and they're still figuring it out. But I would like to see Drew, get into that rhythm early. So by the 4th quarter, when it's nut cutting time against the big dogs and the games that we need, he's feeling good about that, 20-yard dig down the middle or whatever it may be, and he's just confident in that. In rhythm, in flow. Yeah, do have a slight gripe, but Bell deserves snaps. Just got to find the right time for those snaps.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, optically, I think they checked every box. 718 yards, new school record.
Yeah.
And then this one, 651 yard differential, transitioning over to the defense, only 67 yards of total offense by Kent State. And it wasn't flashy. Like, they didn't have a ton of sacks, didn't have a ton of TFLs. They got 2 quarterbacks out of there early. They were playing against a third-string quarterback, which, I do feel bad for Kent State in that situation, and for the kid too. Like, that's just tough. They were already young and down bad enough, and just salt on the wound a little bit, and hopefully speedy recoveries to all of those guys involved in that. But it wasn't. It was just like that quiet dominance. Like, it was 1.6 yards per play, I think, is what Kent State averaged. Offensively, we had like 40 first downs to like I don't even know if they broke double digits.
Yeah.
Third down efficiencies, we were like 80%. So I don't know what they were. It wasn't great. So it was really dominating. What did you take away though from the defensive side? I think we had some questions with KJ and how we were gonna supplement that. Saw some new faces.
Yep.
Dom got a little banged up. That's something to watch, just at the second level there. That was potentially maybe the only area on the field where we had some questions from a depth standpoint of, hey, if something happens to go wrong at that level, is there a conversation about bumping Abdul back? Who knows? But what were your general takeaways from the defensive side of the ball?
Like you said, man, that's pretty sound, and that's what I like to see. Even with young new face back there, true freshman at safety, one of the safety positions. But I think where that's most of our depth lies on this squad is in defensive back room. We've been talking about it since the off season. T. Smalls, and your guy, Coach. Got the safeties and cornerbacks, locked in. So it's definitely, without KJ, we'll see how long it takes, for the foreseeable future. Definitely doesn't feel great because I know he wanted to have a great year and he's a tremendous player and athlete. But I'm confident, and the guys just got to get more confident with more reps. And I think this Kent State game was a great opportunity for that. Whether it be the ones, even all the way to the third, fourth quarter with the 2s and 3s, a lot of young guys out there.
Yeah.
But the D-line, we asked for pressure and sacks, and we got it. First, second play of the game, Abdul got his first sack, deny, and I think it's just about kind of like a pitcher, a basketball player, seeing the ball go in the hoop, to where, similar to the same rhythm thing we're talking about drill is kind of feeling it, getting into it, and hopefully, against a better opponent that pays dividends. But the interior, Zane Durant still. Zane and Devon, man, I really like that combo. We heard a lot of buzz last year about the size of these two, but they continue to show it does not matter. They cause havoc, and it's still about speed. It's still about speed for us on defense, and we're showing improvement every Saturday at all 3 levels. So that's going to be our key for sure.
Those interior guys, man, they look great. And then to your point, let's just go into it. The Ziebart defensive play of the game. B-Bell is Abdul's sack. For those of you who don't know and who haven't been listening, make sure you tune in. This is the Ziebart defensive play of the week. And Ziebart is your vehicle's best defense. They offer premium automotive appearance and protection services to extend the life of your vehicle. Clean, disinfect, enhance, and defend with the highest quality products and services, exceptional workmanship, and knowledgeable staff. Ziebart, your vehicle's best defense, and we appreciate all the support of the show. To me, this was like the first time or one of the few times that we've really seen Abdul with a true one-on-one. I don't know if it was a mistake or what, but when you watch it here, this is one of the few times that he's really had a true one-on-one.
Yeah. And
when he has it, gets low, little rip, and he's back there in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah, big time play. And look at it, 4th down. That was some money down, 3rd and 6. You see we're locked up, outside man coverage, not really hiding it at all. And that's what I love to see. Have the true freshman out there in the slot, sitting, waiting in coverage, pressed up top. And that's when you get those one-on-ones, and you got to win. Denai got a one-on-one as well at the bottom of the rush. And as you said, against Illinois, Ohio State, USC, these are the plays, 3rd and 6. They're at midfield in our territory already. What can we force? Can we force a punt? Or are we going to force a short 4th down where they probably go for it anyway, and maybe can sneak some points? So this bodes well, And just like I said, it's just a win. Abdul finally getting a win, getting home, pay dirt, getting that sack. It's going to feel good, and it's going to pay off later down the line.
Yeah, what's crazy about this was an RPO, and the kid pulls it, and they're trying to throw a bubble screen. So this is supposed to happen fast. I mean,
that's the freshman down the lane.
Yeah, and you usually don't get sacks on these types of plays.
Right,
I don't want to
young QB
speak here, but those are plays that are supposed to get the ball out spit quick, especially if you pull it. And he got the pull read, and Abdul was back there in a hurry. So, folks, that is your Ziebart defensive play of the week. Brought to you by Ziebart again. Make sure you check them out for any of your automotive needs. Cool. Now, to business. What we've been talking about. We talked about, the bye week and what we wanted out of this, and the reps and development, and, missed opportunity with Bowling Green, showed out against West Virginia, missed opportunity with Bowling Green, bye week, work week, came out to Kent State, checked all the boxes, got all the guys involved, 8 different guys score, blase, as B. Bell says. And now we got Illinois coming to town, 7 or 7:30 kick, still TBD. We're filming this here Sunday night, so sorry if it does come out by the time it drops. But I got the chance to watch that game on Friday night against Nebraska, and I got a couple thoughts here. As great of a win as it was for Illinois, I don't want that to be discredited by this statement. I think, to me, it was more of a great fight, lots of credit, but there's always a but. Nebraska had several chances to win this game. Raiola missed a guy in the end zone. He hasn't missed those types of wide open guys late in the 4th to go ahead. The overtime drive was probably one of the worst overtime drives I've ever seen in my life.
Did not see that.
But win for Illinois, impressive without a doubt. However, I still, just watching it, I was like, man, Nebraska had a chance to win this game, and I'm not quite sure if they played that game 10 times.
Right.
Illinois would win it over 50% of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
What were your takeaways?
No, yeah, just that. I mean, Nebraska seemed to lose that game more so than Illinois won it, but Illinois made some great plays down the line. I mean, at least when I look at Illinois, quarterback, I like him. I like him. He's confident. He's somewhat of a vet now. I call him a vet, and he's seen us before, which I think he's seen a lot over his time. So I think that'll be I think this will come down to a QB match per se. I like our defense manning up. They got some good receivers as well. So and the play calling. I think the Bowling Green game, they're gonna rely heavily on that tape. Which I may add, Bowling Green took Texas A&M down to the line too. And that tight end kid they had went off as well. He's gonna be good. Illinois.
No homework, but that should have been one that we should have called as ball guys, but not. That's definitely offense.
Yeah, that kid's gonna play on Sundays. But no, Illinois, Nebraska. Yeah, we haven't seen Dylan Raiola miss throws like that, which sounds so crazy in his 3rd, 4th game. He's going to have some rookie slip-ups, which are to be expected, but I still really like that squad. Matt Rule's got a good thing going. I think they'll bounce back easily. The Dillon kid takes me as a kid who's like not going to make that mistake twice. Yeah. But as you said, Illinois escaped with a dub. Really like what they do on offense. Defense, I think on our offense to their defense, I think we have a lot of opportunities. And it kind of takes me back to where we were talking about Psycho T, right? To where it's like, oh, this is the guy, focal point of the offense. And it almost kind of makes you, if you think back to a year ago, it makes you kind of lose thought of the two running backs we have,
Yeah.
Where I think this could be a big, fat man, Singleton game up against the Illini. Then with Drew just kind of finishing it off, making the key throws that he needs, I think, I think we'll have to win the ground game to win this one, and I think we will.
Yeah, I will say, to me, like the points to be wary. You touched on the veteran quarterback. I think that's always a plus. You have a veteran quarterback who's played a lot of ball, coming into a hostile environment with a lot of momentum. And I think they opened up as like 18-point dogs, which I think that's a little heavy to me. You know what I mean? I still think that's a little heavy, but hey, whatever. But you have a veteran quarterback. What I want to zero in on is I think this is going to be the most physical game that we've had up until this point on both sides of the coin, defensively and offensively up front. So, to your point, if we're able to establish the run, that's what they did to Nebraska. Nebraska was able to impose their will and really rely on that run game, and I think it was the first time where Dillon got put in a situation where he had to win the game a little bit, and that's where you start seeing some of those rookie mistakes come out when all of the focus is on can you make those critical plays time in, time out. That's something that you want to see out of your veteran guys in a position you really want to put your veteran guys in, but sometimes you just have to grow up and realize you're going to get thrown into the fire. You're not going to be able to dip your toe in the water. And they did a good job of kind of stifling that Nebraska running attack and making Drew beat him. Dillon beat him.
It's the 15s.
Yeah, it's the 15. It's screwing me up. But that's what I want to watch. Like, can we respond to the physicality that I think Illinois is going to bring from a defensive side up front and quell that with the momentum from last week quickly? I think it's almost a comparable to the West Virginia game in the sense of hype, anticipation, environment, all of that, where there's going to be a lot of emotion when this game first kicks off from both sides. Who can settle back in and start playing their brand of football? And if Illinois wants to have a chance to beat us, they have to put us in a position where we're playing their brand of football.
Right.
As opposed to, if we want to win this game, we have to settle down and then take control and impose our brand of football on them, which I think is going to be heavily reliant on our offense being able to put up some points and our defense playing a little bit faster than they have the past 2 weeks and starting to create a little more havoc, some turnovers and things of that nature, which I think we're posed to be able to do. But physicality, confidence, and a veteran football team that is going to be well coached.
Yeah.
I said that about Brett Bielema. I don't think I had this game circled. I didn't think they were going to be this good, but I think it's that weird concoction of a really good football coach that kind of has some now variables fall in line that make them really, really good. And going to be a tough team to be beat, because I don't think they're going to have an ounce of fear in them. When they step in the field, I don't think the moment's going to be too big.
No.
I don't think they're going to shit down their leg. I think they're going to be poised, ready, and confident. They went into Lincoln, another relatively hostile environment, and got it done. So I don't think there's going to be an ounce of fear in their eyes. They're coming off an extra day's rest, playing Friday night. I think this is one of those games where I think we're going to have to buckle up. It's going to be a much more physical game than I think we've seen in some time.
Yeah, and that's kind of to our point. Kind of to our point in the beginning of the pod of just like every game, not us, Big Ten in general, every squad there's gonna be kind of a brawl match. To your point about the SEC kind of being used to it, like you said, a well coached team and a vet quarterback, you can do a lot. You sprinkle in some transfer portal talent. at the skill positions, and you get yourself a good cocktail of a good squad, dangerous squad. And defensively, switching it to our defensive side, we're going to have to, nut up and lower our pads too. They got big running back, they love to use him, get comfortable. Can't let him get going because then it just makes the QB's job easier. And similar to that Ziebart defensive play of the game we just saw, loading the box, locking up, manning up outside. We're gonna have to. I think I'd like to see us rely on that a little more than the exotic zone pressure, because a vet QB, we saw it in the Nebraska game, is gonna know where to go if we don't get home. So if Abdul Carter and denying those guys can win on simple 4-man rushes, it's gonna be big time in this nighttime game. Get after this QB all night. But I like to switch up, but that's gonna be a key on our side, is stopping the run first and foremost, and then making this kid uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Coach Franklin called for a whiteout
type energy.
Environment, whiteout energy. Little tease there. I like that. That was funny. And I think that's going to play a big factor. Obviously, I got respect for Lincoln, but there ain't nothing like under the lights in Happy Valley. So I know the fans are going to be teed up for this one. But yeah, man, I don't think that we saw this as being something. Now, what do you think the implications of this game are? I liken it to, this is like what is it, plus odds bets? Is that where it's like not good? You want to be in the minus or whatever?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a plus odds bet for Penn State, right? It's like one of those ones where like, oh, this is a home run. We got it. If you put the house on it, you're gonna win like a quarter of what you put on it. But I'm just gonna put the house on it because I'm confident in it. Like you're leveraging a lot more risk than Illinois is, right? Illinois comes in and wins this game. This is a season defining game for them. The trajectory of the rest of their season, it alleviates their, they have a slip up later on down the line. They're still going to have like an unbelievably successful season in their books. For us, if we win this game, it's going to be like, great, survived the test, but it's what we expected. Mm-hmm. And then if we lose this game, it's going to be like, oh shit, the sky is falling type of conversation, right? Even though they're a good team, it's not disrespecting the fact that they're not a great, a good team that's confident right now and playing good football. But I think it's just one of those games that's really scary, kind of like, I don't want to use all the cliche terms like trap games or whatever, but it's one of those games where Penn State has a lot more risk leveraged in this matchup. So I think it's only that only heightens the attention to detail, focus, fast start type of mentality that we've talked about with some of even these lesser opponents. But now, like, if Penn State's for real, pretender from contender, if they're a contender, this is one of those things where like we quell those early and then we end up pulling away the middle latter half of the game.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely a big test that bodes, or not bodes, holds a little bit more weight on our end than theirs, to all the points you just made exactly. So, it's going to be, but also if we do go out and handle business and say we cover, after that should springboard us at the same time, maybe more internally than what people would see from the outside, because it's a game that we should win and everything of that nature. Should win big too. 17 points is pretty big to me. 17 and a half. But I think because Coach Franklin, I'm sure the squad has a respect for Illinois and Coach Bielema, that springboard us, confidence-wise into these next, the tougher stretch down this season. So every week's gonna be the same, man. I don't know. Even the trap game, like you said, I don't see that being a thing for anybody in this division. At least it shouldn't be. Ohio State, Oregon included, because, you saw Marshall put up a quality fight, kind of got out, athleted towards the end, or towards the middle to the end. But if you come out with that, low energy, thinking it's just a game and trying to get to the next week, any of these squads around can get you. Obviously we had a fair share of that, Bowling Green, but I think any game can be able to
is the environment's not going to allow us to. Like, the environment is going to kind of – I think that's helping us here, right, where it's – if this is a noon kick –
Right.
Like, I just think the environment's going to definitely help alleviate that potential and mitigate that risk. But, yeah, I agree with you, though. Anyone can do it. But, for me, subliminally, too, like with SC going down to Michigan, right? Like, I don't know if that win has as much shine to it as it did had they beaten Michigan, right? Just because the fact that we didn't see Michigan this year.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this could be another one that, like you said, internally from a confidence standpoint, before you hit the SC, Wisconsin, Washington, Ohio State stretch there with a bye week sprinkled in between SC and Wisconsin, before you hit that stretch, this could be a game that wasn't necessarily maybe preseason one that you circled as like a great confidence builder heading into that, but now as it's here and we're talking about it, it is.
Given Saturday.
Yeah.
Even the back half stretch after those games we just mentioned, I mean, right now Maryland looks, like a better squad this year, and obviously we talked about Rutgers, so it truly is any given Saturday. It's gonna get wacky, It's gonna get wacky for sure.
No doubt. All right, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and happy to bring this back this week. Didn't quite get the turnout. I know we gave it time, but we're gonna try to turn these mailbags around on game day. So when you guys are all emotional, maybe not a little tuned up, we could get everything from you guys. We're going to turn these around pretty quick on game day now. And then, as I said, we're recording pretty early in the week. So make sure you get back into it, and we'll get back in more of a consistent cadence. But the mailbag is back, and I only feel right to kick this off here with our guy, Jonathan.
Coach.
All fired up. This is going to be a hard mailbag. Besides those penalties, not much can be improved on, but he said he'll give it a whack. So did we show too much of the playbook against Kent State for Illinois next week?
Yeah, I saw a lot of that going around, and I think, the whole element of surprise is maybe a little too overrated nowadays, to where it's, hey, I want to see these guys execute it when it matters, and then know that Coach Kotelnicki has a lot more in the bag. It's more to the point where, like, these guys now have to prepare to see 44 getting, a shotgun snap. Maybe he throws it, maybe he runs it, and who knows who else could take a snap throughout the game. So I'm kind of over that. I want to see these guys execute it because, honestly, I have a lot of confidence and faith in Coach in the playbook as is.
Yeah. For me, I kind of flip it on the other side, right? Like, I want to show as much as I can, especially in these Kent State games, because you now know that you may have shown something that is really not going to be a focal point in your offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you and I both know how defensive coordinators and coordinators in general can get stuck on, I know, speaking from a quarterback position, we cover the 75-80%, but I've had coaches who, like, freak out about the 1-2% blitzers that they throw in there. And, I spend more time studying that look when, like, realistically speaking, should I be spending all my energy on that? And, walkthrough has half a period of that. It's just you eat up practice time, right? So I look at it from the other side of the coin where it's like I love the fact that he showed a lot because, again, he described it. The offense is vanilla ice cream with a bunch of toppings and stuff mixed in, and like I almost like showing as much as you can in those types of games because it's just more stuff on tape and it's more stuff that the defensive coordinators are going to be thinking about when you now can say, okay, like almost as a coordinator, you're going on the offensive of saying like, I know they're thinking about X, Y, Z, and I know really I'm focusing on A and B here. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that almost creates an element of surprise at times.
Yeah.
And kind of that mental.
And it causes hesitation for the players on the field. To the same point you're saying, if I'm thinking about this 1% that I saw, when I just go a regular zone, this linebacker sits for 2 seconds, Singleton's out the gate. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on there.
B, let's go over to our guy G Money, another constant in the mailbag. Shout out to the mailbag being back. I've been waiting to ask this for a while now. I'm reading Men in White. It's awesome reading your perspective of those years that saved PSU football. My question is, what was it like revisiting the roller coaster of those years for both of you?
Just everything all encompass.
All encompassing. What was it like? Yeah, what was it like revisiting those? Was it good, bad? I breezed through the Men in White. I should sit down and read it. It's a great book. They did some work, did some great work with it. But yeah, man, I feel like I've talked about that so much, but every single time I kind of think about something else, and
Right.
I think B, you and I have talked about it, and you and I kind of know. We were just kids wanting to play ball, and we got in this situation. Like, I don't think we even realized
No.
the greater ripple effect and impact of that decision. I think we just kind of just want to go play football, man.
Right. Be on national TV, great education, network association. But no, I mean, looking back at it, and I've said this, I'm on record saying this a bunch too, but I'm most proud of, and what I take from it is just kind of the era of Penn State football that we were, and I don't know what you want to call it, but keeping it afloat, keeping it pushing forward, and ultimately kind of helping it get to where it is now. To I know people are, hungry for more, but a double-digit win team every single season is still incredible over the last X amount of years with Coach Franklin. But being a part of that, kind of keeping Penn State relevant, making Penn State, helping keep Penn State's name, a hot topic just from a high school kid perspective of recruiting. Like, oh yeah, I still want to go there. We were supposed to be buried, so that kind of being a part of that, and obviously we didn't win national championship. Can't say, we had, I had one double digit season, I think. I can't remember. I know senior year did, but just kind of doing that, having a bunch of fun, playing great ball, part of some great games, and honestly just meeting Hack and the guys that we played with, because that's the shit you miss the most. Running around on Saturday, but just kicking it and running around with the guys you grew up with, 18 and 20, 22, whatever you want to call it. So.
Yeah, man, it's funny. We always talk about that, and I think it's just more so like keeping it afloat, the quick turnaround, mitigating the risk and the damage that I think everyone intended to inflict on it. And like to your point, I think that last point's the one that's the best. Is even the guys that played for a while, some of us played a little bit, whatever. Beyond that, like when we still come back, like we don't talk about the league. We talk about State. Like we talk about it in the Lash. Like there's just something about the college experience, and that's special. And again, there was a lot of dudes, and a lot of like long-term, lifelong relationships built during that time because of everything else, right? It was just kind of like we didn't know it, but then we did it, and then we're like, man, that was pretty cool. So now it's like, we did that. You know what I mean? That's a layman's terms. I
mean, shoot, man. Every time I go back, there's something, college football is so crazy now, but there's something new being built. And looking back, I'm like, yo, if we didn't just be us and do what we came and did, I'm not sure if some of this is being built or whatever's going on. And that's just a cool feeling. It's not really to brag about, but it's just like, wow. Penn State is continuing to elevate, and I had a helping hand to do that.
Yeah, I had an old head tell me, he's a dear friend of mine, older alum, more of like a mentor. He's family, but he's like, you'll realize the impact. Like the further and further you get away from it, like the more and more you'll realize and appreciate the impact. And he's been right up into this point. The 10-year mark, it's still relatively fresh, but I think it's just one of those things that like the more we get further and further down the line, I think more and more people start to realize it, and we will feel the implications of that. So
100%.
But let's move over to Instagram. That was all X. We got Collins J, 1967. Seems like we have some mounting injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Tough games moving forward. Do you know the severity of the injuries with Rojas, DeLuca, Winston, RB Wallace, hoping just a bad ankle sprain?
No, I don't know anything. I know as much as everyone else does.
I'm sure we'll get the coach tomorrow on Monday, but
yeah, so we'll see what he says. But knowing him and the history, it won't be much.
I think it's just that time of year, though. You know, like time of the season, a little bit of a grind.
Everybody's gonna go through it too.
Yeah, we're not the only ones.
Yeah,
Bumps, bruises, they all happen.
Going back to that last question, another thing that's popped in my head. This is like just simple, like rudimentary, but us coming in to Penn State at the time we did 13, 12, whatever. Coming out of high school at that point, and I'm sure you dealt with this, you know, just the time in which we remained committed to Penn State when the darkest cloud was over, and hearing all this shit talked, you know, just kids, you know, high school kids, and you can just imagine what they were saying. Why the fuck are you going there? Da-da-da, and the jokes and the, you know, explicitness, whatever, to being out now and it's like, oh shoot, you went to Penn State, you did this, that's so cool. You know, that simple kind of flip is something I'll never forget. Yeah. And I always wanted to kind of throw back in people's faces that I went to school with, just like, yo, I remember what you said when I was a junior and senior and I was going to Penn State and Penn State was in the news. But, you know, I just kept it to myself and went and did my thing. But seeing that flip is something that's also just will stay with me forever.
I know. I heard some crazy shit my senior year, football, baseball, and basketball. Some crazy shit.
There's a lot of bulletin board material for, you know, to be thrown at us. But just seeing that flip, so like I said, we kept Penn State cool or whatever you want to call it, to where people, you know, are enamored by the fact that we went to Penn State and played ball and did all this. So that's once again, it's just will always be with them.
Yeah, awesome. And then last but not least, Andrea Lynn 128. Is Penn State prepared to face and beat Illinois next week?
Simple question. I like it.
Simple question.
Yeah.
Simple question.
I mean, we are.
Yeah.
No pun.
I think a simple question deserves a simple answer, and we detailed some of the why earlier. I think Andrea listened to the earlier segment of the pod, and I think you'll get the answer to your question. But simple is as simple does, and
I think we believe it's going to be a little more of a dogfight than what maybe Vegas does. But are we equipped to do it, finish on top? Yes, 100%.
No doubt. So that's a wrap for the mailbag, folks. Listeners, make sure you tune in and lock in on that immediately following the games. Next week might be a little tough, might be a little late. We might get that out early Sunday morning. We might push the recording back to Monday just to give you guys some time to fill it up. But make sure you fill it up. Tell your friends to fill it up, family to fill it up. If they're not listening, get them listening. B and I put a lot of work into this. We appreciate all the support. I know B talks about it a lot. You know, hey, listen to your pod. Got a lot of that this week myself. So, and more. So we appreciate it. And we will be wrapping up after a 7:30 night kickoff game in Beaver Stadium, which, hey, man, I'm always there for it. So I'm fired up and appreciate it as always. Make sure you guys are following us all on our socials. Subscribe to the pod, whether it's audio, you know, Apple, Spotify, whatever, YouTube as well. And make sure you guys are supporting the sponsors of the pod. I say this from the bottom of my heart. I know a lot of people say that, you know, it's part of the spiel and all that, but we've kind of grassrooted this whole thing. All of these folks that have come up and got behind us, mean a little something more to me, and I think they're doing a lot of really good things within the community and not just for us. So making sure we highlight that's a big thing, and make sure you guys are supporting those folks. So
100%.
Appreciate it, and we'll catch up with you guys next week.